Hey, tea sippers. I'm back. Let's see how we gonna do it this time. Let's see if we gonna act right. I wonder, are y'all in, anybody in the deal? Oh, he closed now. He closed now. If y'all in the DFW and y'all know anything about snappy catfish, snappy used to be long time ago. Let me see. He used to be long time ago in Urban off of Beltline. When I used to work in Urban Las Colinas type area. Well, now I lived over there too, but Snappy used to. Hold on, let me. Hey, Tora. Oh, that's a pretty name. How you doing? Hold on. If you know anything about Snappy, we met Snappy long time ago, back in the day. Was it the 90s? And he used to be off Beltline, I think Beltline and Wingate or something like that. This not him, no. But, and then he left and went over to West Dallas. And now he back. He got a food truck. Let me see.
Right here. You come out here, look out for Snappy's catfish. Good. Now this catfish is good. I have never tasted this kind of catfish before. And that's the honest God's truth. This is some really good catfish. Again, Snappy's catfish. You ever come down to Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, look up Snappy's catfish. It's really good. Seriously. And on Samoan. I know what I'm talking about. That's some good seafood. Thank you, my friend. Have all right, love y'all.
So right. He back, and now he open on Thursdays and Fridays, I think from 11 to 6. But today is one of my sisters and my godbrother's birthday, so I was me and my sister was on the phone, and I had been telling her to go to Snappy's. And Snappy, why this won't come up now, Snap? Did you take it down? He did what? He did one.
Hey, family, how y'all doing? Oh.
He did one for me, for my sister. So, y'all, if y'all in next Thursday or Friday, and you're in the Dallas area, West Dallas, to be exact, I don't care where you are. If you anywhere near the Dallas area, you may want to get to Snappy's between 11 and 6 because he back. And I had to do what AunTeaFee can do. You know, I be trying to be low key, you know, but I had to make a phone call. When actually I was talking to my sister when she went over there, and he could hear me talking because I wanted to pay for her food. And he heard me saying, "Girl, I'm paying for your food for your birthday." And Snappy did what Snappy do. Shout out to Snappy Catfish. There go the sign.
If you're at Snappy Catfish, you don't only come and get some good old catfish. I'm talking about farm raised. I'm talking about we're located right here in West Dallas, but we also take out the time to sing happy birthday.
Yes.
Tell you, I have a friend. She done came all the way from on the other side of the world. And I'm getting ready to sing happy birthday to her. Her name is Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Shout out to Snap.
Happy birthday, Miss Carolyn. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Happy birthday to my sister.
In the world will sing happy birthday on your birthday. And not only that, but she gonna leave with something free. How y'all know? Y'all gotta come to 1826 Baker Street, West Dallas, before 6 p.m. today. And I'm gonna tell you how you can get something free. Because
okay, so shout out to Snap for doing me a favor. Wishing my sister happy birthday. Oh, he talking that noise. He is still the same old Snap from when we were in Irving. He was also had moved to West Dallas. He was in that corner off of Canada Drive. I don't know if that's Westmoreland or... Yeah, but shout out to Snap. He's back. He got him a food truck. We crucial about our fish. My sister who had been a little sick, hadn't been eating. I've been trying to get her to detox. She don't want to listen to me. But anyway, shout out to Snappy for doing that for me. Really made her day. I had been fussing at her earlier on her birthday, and she said that it really, really made her day, and the fish was good. Yes. So yes, if you're in West Dallas next Thursday or Friday, stop by Snappy's on Bickers at a church and go and check him out. Okay, so listen. Now I got all that out the way. You know what I mean? Hey Dante, when I left earlier, and was planning to come back with old President Obama. They sure can't stand when I bring up President Obama. They all be in my comment section. They should get out of my comment section so I don't have to hurt your feelings. So listen, so while I was about to, put a little food in my system and come on right back with President Obama, I see breaking news. Breaking news. I guess this, when I said earlier stuff is leaking, it's leaking for real. We just heard about the old guy who done told on Trump, Alan Weinberg, or whatever his name was. Who told on him about
on a vacation rental if it's not
how he was scheming. How he was scheming and inflating. That's what he get. That's what he get. That's what you get. Oh, I hate saying that. Lord forgive me. I hate saying that's what you get, because it's always comes with a negative note. It ain't never positive when we start saying that's what you get. But the files is coming in-house. It says Trump, Epstein, nightmare files coming. Yes, indeed. That's it. So it looked like there was an investigation. Money laundering investigation done came out. Bank receipts, emails. Oh, didn't I make mention some shit? It was leaking. I don't know if I want to hear this guy first. I don't know if I want to hear him over the other guy. I don't know which one is gonna bring the tea. He say dirty money case. He said, lame duck. Let me hear the other guy first, and then I'll finish. This guy right here, he's an attorney too. I don't know. Y'all, the tea is coming. I told y'all it was hot, and y'all don't be like hitting the like button for me. Oh, okay. oh, okay. Y'all don't want to support the platform, and this tea be scalding I'm out. Let's go here. Let's start here. The tea is hot. Y'all got y'all hot tea ready? Y'all got y'all tea ready? Where my tea sippers at? Where they at? We are the humping people. We like to spread your business. Yes, indeed. We are the humping people. We're gonna spread your business. You sipping, Karen. Let's sip. Let's sip. Money laundering. Previously unknown. Who snitched? Who snitched? They should have left folk on what was it? Food stamps and stuff. He shouldn't have been still. He shouldn't have messed up the White House. Let's go. Oh, she's silent. Let me stop.
And you pull over on the side.
Pull over.
There is a new piece of reporting today, the kind that hits and you stop.
She said you gotta stop and pull over. Oh, y'all know it's good. Y'all know the tea is hot. Baby, when they say, oh, girl, you gotta pull over. You gotta pull over.
There is a new piece of reporting today, the kind that hits and you stop and you pull over on the sidewalk and read the whole thing. At least that's what I did. It's a potentially major development in the Jeffrey Epstein story. Remember last month we learned about Alex Acosta's testimony, Donald Trump's former Secretary of Labor and the prosecutor who just so happened to be behind Jeffrey Epstein's 2008 plea deal before landing in the Trump cabinet. He told the House Oversight Committee that he did not recall any discussion of potential financial crimes as part of his office's Epstein investigation. But today, Bloomberg is reporting this revelation. Quote, emails and documents from Epstein's Yahoo account show that prosecutors in his office discussed the financial crimes component of the investigation with a...
Now, did they publicize the oversight committee with Acosta? Now, I remember that slogan, the Department of Justice.
I copied him on correspondence about it.
But, okay, hold on. Oh, yeah. Their ass is in trouble. Epstein, come out, wherever you are. You might as well come on out, baby. Your secret is finna come all the way out. Yeah, bar big ass, he ain't gonna wanna go to prison. He gonna, come on, and y'all gonna all say that y'all did it under Trump's direction, instructions. Y'all might as well bring y'all asses on out the closet. Come on back to the U.S. Yeah, we already know that you pedophiles, PDF filers, like to leave the U.S. and go to Israel, the fake one. Yeah, the 1948. Yeah, the Rothschilds. Yeah, them Zionists. Yeah, the devil, dirty, nasty hands, and whatever else y'all use is getting exposed. Let's go. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Lord.
The investigation with Acosta and copied him on correspondence about it. Emails and documents from Epstein's Yahoo account show that prosecutors in his office discussed the financial crimes component of the investigation with Acosta and copied him on correspondence about it. Congressman Robert Garcia, the ranking member on House Oversight, shared his alarm with my colleague Katie Tur last hour over this news of a money laundering investigation. Garcia also
money laundering.
This, quote, this information makes it incredibly clear that there is a massive cover.
So you understand when $130 million just anonymously pop up to cover the military. You know, you got all these $1 million donations sent to Trump to bust up the White House, build a bunker, a tunnel and shit. Yeah, 5, however big a square foot of a ADOLPH, Hitler, like ballroom. Yeah. So y'all can funnel kids and shit with this trafficking. You see how that mysterious money. Yeah, getting y'all asses exposed. Yeah, we want to know where the money coming from. And now all y'all dirty little cover-up secrets is coming out. You understand? The secrets. Somebody don't want to play with y'all no more. Yeah, somebody tired of y'all games and fooling with these kids. Woo, baby, Virginia. I'm going to have to go and get that book. They trying to stop her book. Amazon trying to stop her book. Yeah. What's that boy named Andrew? Yeah, I can't call him Prince no more. He done been stripped. And y'all asses has been, he might as well tell on where you at. Yeah, y'all finna be closed from trafficking business. Bring your ass out. Bring your ass back over to the U.S. Yeah, because you do know a dirty Donald ain't going down by himself. You understand? Yes, let's go. Come out wherever you are.
Over this news of a money laundering investigation, Garcia also told Bloomberg this, quote, "This information makes it incredibly clear that there is a massive cover-up happening right now.
Right now.
It appears that DOJ is likely sitting on evidence that Epstein's crimes were perhaps even bigger than
Yeah. Bigger. The Department of Justice, who went from, oh, the files are right here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Went from, oh, it's nothing. Bullshit. You're lying, the truth ain't in you.
I think this calls into question Acosta's on evidence that Epstein's crimes were perhaps even bigger than have been publicly reported. I think this calls into question Acosta's entire testimony. Joining our conversation is Bloomberg senior investigative reporter Jason Leopold. He is bylined on that reporting we just read from. Michael Feinberg still with us.
Bigger than we
take us
even
inside
thought.
How these two things that seem impossible to coexist can be.
If you sell high-ticket coaching or consulting and you're not running ads on YouTube, you're missing out on the single easiest way.
Well, it is really difficult to comprehend.
See, y'all, this makes me think when we was all up in his house and stuff, all of this stuff just started falling. Started being leaked. You understand? Baby! Yeah, that's how we was all up in his house, Well, no, we wasn't. I'm sorry. My bad. No, we wasn't. I'm sorry. It wasn't us. My bad, T-Sippers. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. Yeah, let's go.
Reported. I think this calls into question Acosta's entire testimony. Joining our conversation is Bloomberg senior investigative reporter Jason Leopold. He is bylined on that reporting we just read from. Michael Feinberg still with us. Jason, take us inside how these two things that seem impossible to coexist can be.
Well, it is really difficult to comprehend how, on the one hand, former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta said that his office, he said this during his testimony in September, that his office was focused predominantly on Epstein's sex crimes. But through these emails and other documents that we've obtained, we found that there was a real money laundering investigation taking place. And it went on for 18 months, beginning in February 2007, going all the way until June 2008, when Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to that state charge in Florida.
Hey, so, Naturally Nolans.
This investigation, essentially, what it shows is that the U.S. attorney who was leading the probe at the time, she subpoenaed all of Epstein's financial records. She contacted one of his most important clients about the investigation, Les Wexner.
Thank you.
The billionaire CEO of
Lex.
Victoria's Secret Limited.
Yeah.
Contacted one of his most important clients about the investigation, Les Wexner, the billionaire CEO of Victoria's Secret Limited, and she, was working on this case for quite some time, and Acosta was copied on all of these communications.
So he knew
that were going back and forth between Epstein's attorneys. And his office, Acosta's office, as well as Main Justice, that sought to undercut the prosecutor and try to get this case scuttled entirely.
Let me read from the reporting, and I have another question about that. Federal prosecutors expanded their probe into Epstein's sex crimes in 2007 to include potential charges of money laundering. The lead prosecutor requested that a grand jury issue subpoenas for, quote, every financial transaction conducted by Jeffrey into Epstein's sex crimes in 2007 to include potential charges of money laundering. The lead prosecutor requested that a grand jury issue subpoenas for, quote, every financial transaction conducted by Jeffrey Epstein and his 6 businesses dating to 2003. Emails show prosecutors also subpoenaed major banks for records about Epstein's accounts and financial activity, according to 2 people. Now, what is the scenario, Jason, wherein the politically appointed U.S. attorney and maybe even Main Justice wouldn't know if someone that is a financial heavyweight with the kind of high-level contacts Jeffrey Epstein had and those kind of holdings at a major bank wouldn't have been aware? I mean, what is there any precedent where somebody like that with that much money and that kind of sort of social and economic status wouldn't be flagged for the U.S. attorney in that office and named DOJ as well?
I mean, it's a good question. That's one of the questions that we don't have, an answer to. And it's interesting because these details about the money laundering investigation, as well as another financial crime, it's been completely erased.
What do you say? Hold on. Did he say as well as another? Hold on. Yeah, we need our good ear. We got where the good ear tea sippers at. Hey, mysterious money laundering girl, baby boom. It's finna all start crumbling down. He should have left folk alone. Ooh, what's that woman saying? When it all I can't think of a song. Yes. Now, did he just not say another? Thank you.
Sort of social and economic status wouldn't be flagged for the U.S. attorney in that office and named DOJ as well?
I mean, it's a good question. That's one of the questions that we don't have, an answer to. And it's interesting because these details about the money laundering investigation, as well as another financial crime, erased from history, if you will. I mean, this is we're revealing this, for the first time. It was not included in the Justice Department report, the Office of Professional Responsibility report that came out in 2020 that took a look at the integrity of the U.S. Attorney's Office handling of the case. So, I mean, it's very odd. I mean, it's interesting that this investigation was happening for 18 months, and in fact,
18 months.
The prosecutor on the case, Marie Villafania, she had recommended a charge of money laundering, as well as one other financial crime, in a prosecution memo. This is the 82-page memo that we've heard about for quite some time, which again remains shrouded in secrecy. So I think with the reporting today that you've also seen from the New York Times about these suspicious transactions related to, Epstein's accounts at JP Morgan.
Just as his New York Times case was dismissed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He should have left the New York Times alone, too. Let's go.
20 that took a look at the integrity of the U.S. Attorney's Office handling of the case. So, I mean, it's very odd. I mean, it's interesting that one, this investigation was happening for 18 months, and in fact, the lead prosecutor on the case, Marie Villafana, she had recommended a charge of money laundering as well as one other financial crime in a prosecution memo. This is the 82-page memo that we've heard about for quite some time, which again remains shrouded in secrecy. So I think with the reporting today that you've also seen from the New York Times about these suspicious transactions related to, Epstein's accounts at J.P. Morgan and other banks, that these are puzzle pieces that starting to put together as to why the banks, one, either didn't flag him early enough, but two, what records and what kind of evidence did prosecutors get early on as they were following the money? And I think that's one important point, is that the prosecutors in Florida were following the money way before there was this, way before there was public interest in seeing that, and before Congress started taking that on as well.
I mean, Michael Feinberg, it adds such depth to the political hunger. Again, this is an 80-20 issue. 81% of Americans would like to see the files released and believe Donald Trump is covering something up. He actually fares the worst, is viewed as most culpable, but his senior Department of Justice leaders don't fare very well either when those questions are asked by pollsters. But the money and the transactions, those are not subject to the sorts of character assassination that the victims of sex trafficking, some of them were children when those crimes took place. The documents are the documents. It seems like that would be a rather easy thing to release publicly.
Yeah, financial statements generally don't lie. It is, as you mentioned, hard to undermine their character. They don't shade the truth. They are printed numbers and words on a page, authoritatively provided by a bank or credit institution. But what this reporting reveals is that with every new fact we learn about that 2008 plea deal, we realize more and more it doesn't pass the smell test to a degree we wouldn't have thought possible the previous day. So much about it was irregular. We now know that there was a nascent money laundering investigation that apparently was just dropped somehow, despite the lead assistant U.S. attorney arguing for it in her pros memo. We know that, I believe, 36 alleged victims of Epstein were not consulted about the plea, even though DOJ policy generally requires victims be made aware of plea negotiations. Nothing about this seems above board.
Hold your mute. Hold on. Okay, I'll shut down. Oh, see, talking about the air travel, but hold on. Can y'all believe this? Can y'all believe it? That's why I was chewing your ass out earlier today. You played yourself. You played yourself. You didn't. You showing pictures of renovation. You showing that you turned down the White House. Just being ugly. Ugly. Guess what, nickel? This ain't marbles. Slippers don't count. They telling on you. Yes. And Jeffrey. Jeff, come on out. Pop on out. Yeah, we know you still alive somewhere over there in Israel. Leave them kids alone. Yeah, you still making money. Yeah. Y'all thought y'all was slick. The gig is finna show be up. Let's go.
There's a breakthrough in the Jeffrey Epstein case. We've learned now that the feds had a money laundering case against him that they didn't bring. I'm Ari Melber, MSNBC anchor, chief legal correspondent, and I'm going to talk about that in this breakdown, as well as Donald Trump's efforts to control the military, affect our democracy, and also try to stave off the belief or awareness that he is a lame duck president, something I've discussed in breakdown, including the efforts to suggest to people that somehow he could illegally rule beyond 2028. But starting with Epstein, there are two big reports new from the New York Times and Bloomberg, which uses Freedom of Information Act reporting to get documents about the Epstein case. This is really significant to learn that there was actually an entire money laundering case prepared against Epstein that was basically blocked back the first time he was under investigation. It's really interesting as a lawyer to look at these type of scenarios, because typically when someone is under federal or any type of investigation, you don't hear about it in real time. You're not supposed to. You might hear about a search warrant or subpoena, but that's it, and that kind of secrecy is generally a good thing. It's to protect a lot of the parties involved. But we're learning now that in 2007, a federal prosecutor drafted, and I'm reading from documents collected by Bloomberg, a 53-page indictment and an 82-page prosecution memo. That is pretty detailed, all about the effort to get Epstein on money laundering charges, basically of all the different crimes that, of course, he was ultimately suspected of, and later a lot of evidence has shown what he was doing. This was a follow the money effort to go that way. And the report notes that, and this has been reviewed by DOJ as well, but reading from Bloomberg now, that this prosecutor wanted them to act quickly, the feds, because she was concerned that he would continually to, quote, sexually abuse girls until they stopped him. But instead, senior officials, this was at the George W. Bush Justice Department, said she was actually being too aggressive in going after Epstein. They slow-walked that effort. Of course, the money laundering case was never brought, and he got that early sweetheart deal in Florida in 2007. The other big report here that sheds a lot of light on this is from the New York Times about J.P. Morgan, the biggest bank, really, by most estimates, that exists. Epstein was a valued client. There's been prior reporting that suggests that some of the bankers he was dealing with there also were having some sort of liaison or relations with people in Epstein's orbit. And while that might not have amounted to a crime, it could amount to a conflict of interest for the bank if those individuals were somehow compromised with Epstein, because there were all these warning signs and all of these debates within the bank about to cut him off. And I want to make a point here. There's been a lot of talk about the politics, about the different VIPs involved, and there certainly is a lot of evidence that the powerful and rich people involved might have shielded Epstein for a time. But there were also big institutions involved. The Justice Department hasn't come out looking very good, and that's our United States Justice Department under both parties. The original sweetheart deal was under Republican Bush administration. The Biden administration was in charge for 4 years and was not exactly a model of transparency. They did an Inspector General report about Epstein's suspicious death, but they didn't answer a lot of the key questions, and they certainly didn't do the transparency of releasing the files. The Trump administration claimed they would in the second term. They obviously have not. We're awaiting a vote in the House that is supposed to release the DOJ files, but that's all the DOJ. Then you have the fact that this kind of alleged human trafficking, convicted in the case of Maxwell, not resolved in the case of Epstein legally because he died in prison, but this kind of trafficking involves money. And at a grand level, it involves institutions and banks. And so the questions hanging still over J.P. Morgan and its leadership about how they did this work for this long are significant and go to the conspiracy here. And I don't mean the conspiracy theory. I mean an actual legal conspiracy where different parties play different roles, but two or more people may conspire to advance crimes. I want to read a little bit from the J.P. Morgan story, and I also want to make a point about how we learn facts. There's a lot of skepticism these days of all kinds of media, but the reason that we know some of these new reports today, which also put pressure on the Trump DOJ and President Trump, and I'll get to that, let's be clear, these came out because of reporting. And the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, which may have sort of different associations, at times very independent, it's seen as often critical of the government or Trump. The Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch, along with Fox News, but both these papers did the request. There was lawsuits that helped kind of jangle free some of this information, and then these papers requested to get more of it that has been in secret. And in the J.P. Morgan case, the bank didn't want more of this to come out, Judge Rakoff was appealed basically by the New York Times reporters in their case and ordered the release of this material. So in a time of great skepticism about a lot of things, let's be clear, it's from that type of reporting, often done in sort of slow, behind-the-scenes, boring ways, week after week, filing freedom of information suits, going to court, interviewing people, and then you get information like this. I want to mention that the J.P. Morgan example turns out that they submitted to the government these what are called suspicious activity reports, saying that many of the transactions that Epstein was involved in were actually suspicious. So that tees you off to potential money laundering. Money laundering matters because, just to say it obviously, if you're in legitimate business, you don't need to launder your money. Now, you could have legitimate business and only be hiding money for tax purposes, tax evasion. That could be a one type of financial crime. But often money laundering correlates to, of course, other worse crimes, violent crimes, human trafficking, international narco trafficking, or drug dealing. And so it matters that these banks, when they're dealing with these funds, so that tees you off to potential money laundering. Money laundering matters because, just to say it obviously, if you're in legitimate business, you don't need to launder your money. Now, you could have legitimate business and only be hiding money for tax purposes, tax evasion. That could be a one type of financial crime. But often money laundering correlates to, of course, other worse crimes, violent crimes, human trafficking, international narco trafficking, or drug dealing. And so it matters that these banks, when they're dealing with these funds, file these reports. Here's the problem for J.P. Morgan, and something people might care about.
Flower.
They didn't file a lot of these reports, according to the Times, until after Epstein
naturally
died.
in Orleans.
So it almost makes them look worse, like they had the information.
I've been saying
they
he's
knew
still
things.
alive for a
There
while.
is a private process and a
Salura,
requirement where they have to make a good faith effort to know their customer, review materials, and flag things to the government, which then can determine whether it is actually suspicious or maybe it's just a transfer that looked funny, but it's fine. But they didn't do this till after Epstein died. And we're not talking about small sums here. In total, it was over 4,000 transactions and $1 billion that they then flagged. Now remember, Donald Trump's own cabinet official alleged or said that Epstein was a great blackmailer, and that's how he got away with so much, because not only was he doing allegedly these terrible things, some proven, some alleged, but he would then implicate other people in government, in finance, and blackmail them. Now, that's what Lutnick said.
Baby, it's coming out. Y'all double tap the screen, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, 3 dots. Like, share, subscribe, join the membership, baby, because when I tell you IT been so fucking hot, whoo, baby, it is a wonder our tongue can still operate. Hit the like button. Yeah, I've been trying to tell y'all that, man. I mean, it took us a minute. It took us a minute. Shout out to Pressure, because when Pressure was first saying, I'm like, but all of that other stuff and Kirk, I mean, you know, just we've been getting a lot of tea. It's just been dropping. And I said the other day, I would not be surprised. Somebody asked about something, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if more stuff gonna be leaked. Let's go.
Alleged or said that Epstein was a great blackmailer, and that's how he got away with so much, because not only was he doing allegedly these terrible things.
And baby, did we not? Okay, not us, but they said, did we see all that stuff lined up on that desk? Passports and the books and stuff with the notepads and appointments. And I said, ooh, right there, that one right there. That's the room I like. Y'all remember that?
Things, some proven, some alleged. But he would then implicate other people in government, in finance, and blackmail them. Now, that's what Lutnick said. That hasn't been proven, but it contradicts the Trump DOJ memo that claimed there was no blackmail done, that there was nothing else to see here, nothing else to investigate.
Shit.
And so you have a big problem when you have these conflicting accounts from within the Trump administration, you have President Trump continuing to refuse to do this transparency he promised, and then these new reports come out and give you some insight into what was going on. Obviously, if J.P. Morgan thought these items were suspicious after Epstein died, well, the same fact should have been suspicious before he died, and it raises the questions of whether people were compromised or hiding or in cahoots, all those kind of things. I'm just looking at something I wanted to mention in my notes here. The money laundering probe that was prepared was never prosecuted. There was a non-prosecution agreement made. That's basically the sweetheart deal that Epstein got the first time in 2007 that said he wouldn't be prosecuted if he made this deal, and so those other things sort of went away. As for J.P. Morgan, he also, Epstein, provided financial value to them. If you want to understand this, it's not all just some simple conspiracy around the worst alleged sex offenses. He was bringing in clients, links to all kinds of top people, Google founder, millions of dollars coming in. So they may have also viewed him as someone that they thought was profitable, and the money trumped, so to speak, those other obligations they have. And so when you look at these problems of this human trafficking, it's not just where the government fell down, it's other institutions that basically may have operated to not only support it, but to hide it, which is bad, obviously. The reporting also shows a reference to two U.S. presidents, believed to be President Clinton and President Trump, that J.P. Morgan flagged amidst all these other transactions. So they basically had all of this at a time where, for many years, Epstein was still holding himself out as some sort of financial luminary. Now they say he's a criminal and a con man and a blackmailer, but he's out there doing all that, but he couldn't do that without the cooperation of these top institutions. They also mentioned in the report some very high-profile people, Lex Wexner, who was a big entrepreneur and tied to Victoria's Secret, Conrad Black, who I've mentioned before, the Epstein reporting was someone who was funneling many millions of dollars to Epstein, but it never really made sense why. And so there are these questions of whether that was a kind of hush money or even illegal blackmail or extortion money, because Epstein wasn't even a qualified financial advisor for the types of tax services that Black sort of said was what he was paying for. When you take this all together, it brings you back, of course, to the Trump DOJ right now. If the New York Times and Bloomberg and these lawsuits can find all of this information, if there was a money laundering case all the way back,
it still is
2007, and that doesn't mean that it proves there was money laundering legally. It means that one prosecutor wanted to bring that case and others maybe didn't see a case, and that does happen. But if you go back that many years and you have that much material, and then you have Pam Bondi say in this infamous memo, there's no other crimes to be pursued, nobody else to be investigated, and no, quote, blackmail, the credibility of the Trump DOJ continues to really fall on this. So that's an update there on a big story, and again, it's one where we are learning actual new information because of documents and because of reporting. I understand a lot of people might be skeptical about, after all these years, if the House votes to get the Epstein files, will there be anything in there? We don't know. But it certainly would be interesting to use legal process to force that material out and then compare it to some of the other stuff I just mentioned. Because then you'd start to look at the names, look at the banks, look at the old effort to develop a case, and ask the question that still matters to the victims and the system, which is, did anyone else get away who did something, who's still out there, who's alive, and was this covered up and quieted down for the wrong reasons recently, just as it has been in the past? Okay, I want to turn to politics, part 2 of my legal breakdown here, and it's my YouTube channel. You can subscribe if you want to get these kind of reports, because I want to go a little deeper than sometimes we get to do when I'm anchoring, and just touch on the lame duck of it all, because Donald Trump is clearly trying to distort and change how we think of a second-term presidency. And I just made a couple notes here, for example, because Donald Trump won the election last year.
Okay, so what did he say about still alive? I stepped away. I just heard still alive.
Mandate, he won by about 1.5 points, but he won.
Hold on.
And no, quote, blackmail. the credibility of the Trump DOJ.
Y'all better hit the like button.
Really fall on this.
Thank you, Natural Norton.
That's an update there on a big story, and again, it's one where we are learning actual new information because of documents and because of reporting. I understand a lot of people might be skeptical about, after all these years, if the House votes to get the Epstein files, will there be anything in there? We don't know. But it certainly would be interesting to use legal process to force that material out and then compare it to some of the other stuff I just mentioned. Because then you'd start to look at the names, look at the banks, look at the old effort to develop a case, and ask the question that still matters to the victims and the system, which is, did anyone else get away who did something, who's still out there, who's alive, and was this covered up and quieted down for the wrong reasons recently, just as it has been in the past?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I want to turn to politics, part 2 of my legal breakdown here, and it's my YouTube channel. You can subscribe if you want to get these kind of reports, because I want to go a little deeper than sometimes we get to do when I'm anchoring, and just touch on the lame duck of it all. Because Donald Trump is clearly trying to distort and change how we think of a second-term presidency. And I just made a couple notes here, for example, because Donald Trump won the election last year, and he improved his vote totals from before.
Involved in money
He doesn't
laundering.
have some giant
It's
mandate. He won by
likely
about a
that
point
he's
and a half.
still,
But he
yeah,
won.
absolutely,
But very
Patrick. I
quickly,
absolutely
early in
agree.
the second term, he's doing worse than most second-term presidents. His approval is low, and
Because
I
he's
just
not a
made
leader.
A couple notes here, for example, because Donald Trump won the election last year, and he improved his vote totals from before. He doesn't have some giant mandate. He won by about a point and a half, but he won. But very quickly, early in his second term, he's doing worse than most second-term presidents. His approval is low, and the public protests are some of the largest we've seen in the last decades. And yet, against that backdrop, if you follow this stuff, there is this feeling that, like, he's getting away with a lot, and there's almost like a panic or an alert sometimes, given what he's doing to prosecute enemies, to try to get a comic like Jimmy Kimmel kicked off the air, to abuse the FCC powers. You've got companies openly talking about just doing corrupt deals with him. He's pocketing billions through his family and crypto. Some of that may be technically legal. Some of it may raise questions.
No, he pardoned him.
Conflicts, bribery, impeachable offenses.
Yeah, for that.
And so there's this
that
real
guy.
split you see between what he seems to be getting away with and a kind of a brazen approach, and then the actual fact that he cannot run again, which has been discussed recently. He's constitutionally limited. He is a lame duck. We're about a year out from midterms, which could drastically change the power balance in Washington, and people start planning for what happens after. And so I just wanted to mention, looking at that, some examples. George W. Bush was far more popular than Donald Trump at Bush's peak, presiding over the unity and the response to 9/11, over 2 wars. His approval was up over 80%, but it plummeted by the end of his second term down to 45%, and the Republican Party, moved on without him. If you go further back in the era, Harry Truman came in and was seen as a strong leader at times, but between the Korean War and domestic challenges, he actually bottomed out under 30%, as low as mid-20s, and was seen sort of as a failed president, and people, again, moving on from him. Donald Trump right now, depending on which poll you check, it adjusts, is way below where he was just a year ago, right? November election when he won, came in about 50%. Now, going into November, and he's down in high 30s, and a year from now, next November, is the midterms. And so he's not exactly on a course where it looks really strong. He's really on a course where it looks like he could be much more of a lame duck earlier in his second term. The difference between him and other presidents would be what some call the autocratic attacks, the efforts to distort democracy. You don't have to dislike Donald Trump or dislike his policies to have noticed that he's trying to keep the military out in the streets indefinitely without reason, that he's doing the DOJ crackdowns I mentioned, and he's trying to distort, and so how we have civic democracy. And so I think that's going to be this big contrast going forward.
Say that
on the one
again.
hand,
I was listening but wasn't. Hold on.
just a year ago, right, November.
Can y'all please hit the like button? I'm trying to stay with you, cause this tea good to me. It's good to me. I'm loving it. Now, what did he say? You check.
Election 21.
Why does this keep doing this? Hold on.
Came in about 50%. Now going into November, and he's down in high 30s. And a year from now, next November, is the midterms. And so he's not exactly on a course where it looks really strong. He's really on a course where it looks like he could be much more of a lame duck earlier in his second term. The difference between him and other presidents would be what some call the autocratic attacks, the efforts to distort democracy. You don't have to dislike Donald Trump or dislike his policies to have noticed that he's trying to keep the military out in the streets indefinitely without reason, that he's doing the DOJ crackdowns I mentioned, that he's trying to distort. And so
I think he's trying to get a war started.
Would be what some call the autocratic attacks, the efforts to distort democracy. You don't have to dislike Donald Trump or dislike his policies to have noticed that he's trying to keep the military out in the streets indefinitely without reason, that he's doing the DOJ crackdowns I mentioned, that he's trying to distort, and so how we have civic democracy. And so I think that's going to be this big concept going forward, is on the one hand, he's already actually doing worse than most second-term presidents earlier on, and people in his party and in politics will start to plan for after him. That's kind of an iron law of politics when you can't run again. And senators are on 6-year terms while he's on his way out, even in his own party. But one big difference is the very obvious effort to distort all that and to use intimidation, business and media, crackdowns, to actually mute or lower and distort the level of opposition that there is. And so to say something pretty obvious, that's a reminder that that opposition really matters. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't be working so hard and taking so many risks, including, maybe not for him, but for his aides, legal risks in the future, just to try to get you or people in America confused about how unpopular and opposed the current agenda is. That's one more breakdown I wanted to share. Again,
hold on. Worst ethics scandal ever. Let me see what this one is saying. Hold on.
This robotic puppy looks so real.
Baby,
it completely fooled my neighbor who's
they planning on getting him. I think y'all.
Donald Trump.
I don't know when this was. Listen, y'all. I really thinking. I'm really thinking.
Trying to take about 200.
What? 200? What? I'm really thinking impeachment is coming. Oh, that was 9 days ago. I really think impeachment may be coming. I really think
there is a building masterclass in distraction being carried out by the Trump administration and by the Republican Party. They believe that you're too dumb to notice. His loyal soldiers have their marching orders, and the marching orders are: make something, anything you can find, make something else a scandal, to put less attention on. Take your pick, because there's 5 or 6 different things going on.
It's
all
a
of
lot.
which are bad for the administration. The thing now is Operation Arctic Frost. Senator Eric Schmidt spoke about it. He says this is a bigger scandal than anything in 100 years in the United States. Worse than Watergate, worse than everything. Here's what he had to say.
What happens sometimes in this town is that we have multiple news cycles in one day, and big events can sort of get lost in all the things that are happening in the news of the day. But I think that in this instance, I can't think of a bigger political scandal in the last 100 years. So if you want to compare it to Watergate, this is 100 times worse than Watergate, and here's why. To sort of amplify the point that Senator Graham was making, 3 days after President Trump announced he was running for president, this system was weaponized against him. Jack Smith, who is notorious in prosecutor world as being a Stalin-like, show me the man, I'll show you the crime prosecutor. That's the guy you appoint when you want to get your political opponent. He's a dirtbag. A dirtbag.
That's a technical term, a dirtbag. 100 times worse than Watergate. You know what this reminds me of? Remember Obamagate? Yeah, I don't either, because we never were told what it was. Trump called it the worst political crime of the century during his first term. And when a reporter, it might have been Jonathan Karl,
We saw
or
5
no, it was from the
Republicans
Washington Post.
stand with
When
them.
someone asked,
Yep.
what is Obamagate?
To save food stamps from hungry
Trump said,
people. Yes,
you
I
know what it
believe an
is. Don't ask me
impeachment is
questions
coming.
like that. So let me tell you
Let's
what
hope
Arctic
so.
Frost actually was.
Oh,
This is their new scandal.
And
the FBI opened a criminal investigation into Trump and other Republicans based on their efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That was what.
That's something else.
They were going to have fake slates of electors in 7
on
different
top
states.
of.
They investigated the attempt to overturn the election. The thing we
on
all
top
watched
of this
happen,
money
these
laundering.
riots on January
He got a
6,
whole bunch of stuff going on.
But where it gets fascinating is that Republicans are now claiming that the investigation is the scandal. They're saying we should be outraged that the investigation took place. Not that Trump tried to overturn the election. Not that he incited a riot. Not that they had fake slates of electors planned to go and say, even though Biden won the state by popular vote, we are going to put our
Oh yeah, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear about the money laundering. Yeah, you maybe you late to the party, or maybe I just grabbed the wrong one. I'm sorry. Hold on. Hold on. Was this today? Yeah, it's a lot going on. These judges
is campaigning instead of doing this. I built a great company.
Former President Donald Trump came to this courthouse in Manhattan, making a rare voluntary appearance before a judge. I'd
love to be campaigning instead of doing this. I built a great company.
Former President Donald Trump.
All your companies failed. You have an attitude like.
I'd love to be campaigning instead of doing this.
Wasn't nobody supposed to catch you.
Great company.
Former President Donald Trump came to this courthouse in Manhattan.
I'd love to be campaigning instead of doing this. I built a great company.
Former President Donald Trump came to this court.
I'd love to be campaigning instead of doing this. I built a great company.
So why did you claim your taxes and said that you lost money, that you didn't make none to avoid taxes? If you build a great company, did you pay your taxes, man? You know, the stuff that you are milking right now and that you and the other PDF filers was using to traffic minors. If it was so great, sir, sarcastically, yeah, why didn't you pay your taxes? Since you made money, it made you wealthy. Why did you turn around at the end and say you broke, busted, and disgusted? That's why you can't get your orange right. You don't know which orange color is supposed to blend in. You can't even get a stylist to come in and a makeup artist and blend your makeup on right. Yeah.
I'd love to be campaigning instead of doing this. I built a great company.
Former President Donald Trump came to this courthouse in Manhattan, making a rare voluntary appearance before a judge.
No, he don't pay taxes.
In one of the 4 criminal cases against him, but as
he don't pay taxes, and he buries his ex-wives, well, one of them, up on the golf course so that he didn't have to pay taxes. Yeah.
4 criminal cases against him, but as a defendant in a lawsuit that could upend his business empire. Now, last week, the judge in this case, Arthur Engoron, he ruled that Donald Trump committed years of fraud by giving banks and insurance companies and others financial statements that inflated his wealth by billions of dollars and inflated the value of assets like skyscrapers and golf courses. By giving banks and insurance companies and others financial statements that inflated his wealth by billions of dollars and inflated the value of assets like skyscrapers and golf courses. As punishment, the judge said that he's taking away some of Donald Trump's companies, and that could lead to taking away some of his prized assets like Trump Tower. At lunch, he called for the judge's disbarment, said he should face criminal charges for his handling of this case. This trial could last 3 months, but Donald Trump was here today. He may be back tomorrow, and at some point, he's going to testify as a witness.
So, former President Donald Trump made a pretty rare voluntary trip to a Manhattan courthouse recently. And get this, he wasn't there because of one of the 4 criminal cases against him. Nope, he showed up as a defendant in a lawsuit that could seriously shake up his business empire. Last week, Judge Arthur Engoron ruled that Trump had engaged in one of the 4 criminal cases against him. Nope. And get this, he wasn't there because of one of the 4 criminal cases against him. Nope, he showed up as a defendant in a lawsuit that could seriously shake up his business empire. Last week, Judge Arthur Engoron ruled that Trump had engaged in years of fraud by providing banks and insurance companies with financial statements that exaggerated his wealth by billions of dollars. He also inflated the value of his assets, like his skyscrapers and golf courses. To top it all off, the judge decided to take away some of Trump's companies, which could mean losing some of his most prized assets, including Trump Tower. During lunch, Trump even called for the judge's disbarment and claimed he should face criminal charges for how he's handled the case.
Y'all get the likes up. I'm not gonna do this again. Oh my God. I hope these lights are up. I'm up here. I haven't even eaten. Trying to get this tea out for y'all, and y'all playing with me like that? I think not. Check these lights. Okay. Hey, Grady. Hey, Cane Life. Hey, Southern Queen.
Now think about it. Imagine being the President of the United States, telling the world for years of his assets.
If I shut down on y'all again, y'all already know why.
To top it all off, the judge decided to take away some of Trump's companies, which could mean losing some of his most prized assets, including Trump Tower. During lunch, Trump even called for the judge's disbarment and claimed he should face criminal charges for how he's handled the case. Now think about it. Imagine being the President of the United States, telling the world for years that you're the most powerful individual around and that no one can tell you what to do. Then, out of the blue, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who heads the entire federal judiciary, publicly tells you to sit down and follow the law like everyone else.
Shut up.
This week, Chief Justice John Roberts did just that, delivering one of the most astonishing judicial rebukes to a sitting president in recent American history. Sources inside the White House say that Trump completely lost it over this.
Donald Trump committed years of fraud by giving banks and insurance companies and others financial statements that inflated his wealth by billions of dollars and inflated the value of assets like skyscrapers and golf courses. As punishment, the judge said that he's taking away some of Donald Trump's companies, and that could lead to taking away some of his prized assets like Trump Tower. At lunch, he called for the judge's disbarment, said he should face criminal charges for his handling of this case. This trial could last 3 months, but Donald Trump was here today. He may be back tomorrow, and at some point, he's going to testify as a witness.
Trump's inflated wealth and all those assets we've talked about, it's a wild ride. So let me fill you in on something pretty big that happened recently. Donald Trump has been tangled up in a significant legal mess because he tried to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Now, you might find yourself thinking that a president can just go ahead and do that, but that's actually not the case. The Federal Reserve is designed to operate independently, which means it's supposed to be shielded from political shenanigans. But we all know Trump likes to have things his way, and independence doesn't quite fit into his playbook. When things didn't go his way with Cook, he decided to remove her because she wasn't aligning with his expectations. However, the courts quickly jumped in to say, whoa, hold on there. You can't just fire people from the Federal Reserve because you're
now you
unhappy
gonna get
with
your
their
own
decisions.
stuff removed.
There are laws and regulations in place designed to stop presidents from having too much power. But as we've seen, Trump wasn't very keen on following those rules. His attitude has always been along the lines of, I'm the president, so I can do whatever I want, and if you don't like it, that's your problem. Now, here comes the interesting part. When the courts instructed Trump's legal team to show up in person to explain the firing and to defend their case, they just didn't bother. Instead of appearing, they sent in written documents but kept skipping out on the in-person appearances, and they kept pulling this stunt repeatedly.
Why?
Every time they were told to show up, they basically shrugged it off. But here's where it gets even crazier. This wasn't just some local district court judge getting frustrated. This defiance ended up climbing the legal ladder until it reached the Supreme Court. And guess who was waiting there? Chief Justice John Roberts, who typically stays away from political disputes, finally had enough of the nonsense. On October 23rd, he put out a rare public statement that legal experts are calling the strongest rebuke to a sitting president in decades. What he said was pretty straightforward but pretty impactful. He made it clear that no one, not even the president, is above the requirement to show up when summoned by the courts in the United States. That's a firm reminder that the law applies to everyone, even the guy in charge.
So he was waiting on it.
From political disputes, finally had enough of the nonsense. On October 23rd, he put out a rare public statement that ladder until it reached the Supreme Court. And guess who was waiting there? Chief Justice John Roberts, who typically stays away from political disputes, finally had enough of the nonsense. On October 23rd, he put out a rare public statement that legal experts are calling the strongest rebuke to a sitting president in decades. What he said was pretty straightforward but pretty impactful. He made it clear that no one, not even the president, is above the requirement to show up when summoned by the courts in the United States. That's a firm reminder that the law applies to everyone, even the guy in charge. When Chief Justice Roberts made a bold public statement calling out Trump by name, it created a real stir. It's a significant move, reminding the president that he isn't above the law, a huge deal that doesn't usually happen in functioning democracies. Instead of handling things quietly or letting the case pass through the usual legal process, Roberts chose to spotlight the issue, setting the stage for a stark confrontation between the executive branch and the judiciary. When Trump caught wind of it, he absolutely lost it. Sources inside the White House revealed that he went into a total fury. According to Politico, a senior aide shared that Trump was screaming about Roberts showboating for the media, about judges trying to make him look weak, and about courts overstepping their bounds. Right away, he ordered his team to push back forcefully against what he called judicial harassment. It's ironic, really. He views being required to show up in court as harassment.
Oh, battery very low. It's going to shut down on y'all anyway.
To him, any attempt to hold him accountable or make him adhere to the rules is just an attack or unfair treatment. But honestly, this situation is more than just about one court case or one angry outburst. It's a fundamental clash regarding presidential power and the rule of law. Throughout his presidency, Trump has been pushing the limits of executive authority, testing how much he can get away with. For a long time, he seemed to escape consequences, ignoring court rulings or dragging things out indefinitely. Now, though, Roberts' public stance changes everything.
Put his ass
the head
out
of the
there,
Supreme Court is firmly drawing a line, emphasizing that Trump can't just ignore court orders or pick and choose which laws apply to him.
And baby, by the way, them police back there look like they waiting on you. They waiting on you, boo-boo. They gonna be waiting to take your ass to jail. They lining you up. That's why you want that underground bunker. So you can run and hide. Barricade yourself.
Orders or pick and choose which laws apply to him. This is a reality check for Trump, who feels entitled to unlimited power, thinking he should be able to fire anyone he pleases or dismiss court orders he dislikes. The Chief Justice's message, delivered publicly, tells him he's mistaken. He must follow the law just like everyone else. This kind of public humiliation is something Trump simply can't tolerate, and we're witnessing this unprecedented conflict unfold right now. It looks like we're in for quite a ride with a developing constitutional crisis, and honestly, things are about to get a lot more complicated. So let's take a closer look at why this whole situation is such a big deal.
Especially with all this stuff leaking.
At first glance, you might think, oh, Trump got upset with a judge. What's new? He's always getting mad at judges, right? But this time, it goes deeper than just one of his usual complaints. Here we have the President of the United States straight up ignoring court orders, and it's got the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court stepping in to make a public statement. That's where the crisis kicks in. Let's rewind and talk about what started all this. Trump fired Rebecca Slaughter, who was a commissioner at the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC for short. This agency is supposed to operate independently, away from any direct political influence from the president. They deal with specific aspects of the economy or society without being swayed by the executive branch. Basically, they exist to maintain a level of independence. The commissioners have set terms and can only be removed for very specific reasons, like misconduct or if they aren't able to perform their duties. It's not just because the president isn't happy with their decisions. But Trump has never been a fan of independent agencies. He believes that everyone in the executive branch should be reporting to him directly. So when Slaughter made calls that didn't sit well with him, he just fired her. No legal process, no justification, just you're fired, hit the road. Following that, Slaughter decided to take action and sued, arguing that her firing was against the law. Multiple courts agreed with her, ruling that Trump broke federal law by dismissing her without proper cause. They instructed his administration to show up in court and explain themselves, and that's where things really started to unravel.
He think he exempt. He said he was DOJ, didn't he?
Took a rather astonishing approach by not showing up at all. Even as courts scheduled hearings, his lawyers either skipped them completely or sent in written statements instead of being there in person. This pattern continued for several weeks, with the courts repeatedly ordering the administration to send representatives to appear, and they just kept ignoring the requests. You might find yourself thinking about the rules surrounding this. Can the president's attorneys just wave off court orders? The answer is a firm no. When a court tells you to appear, that's not something you can just brush aside. It's how the legal system is designed to function. Yet here we are, with Trump's team apparently deciding to do exactly that. You know, when it comes to
said,
court
y'all,
orders, Trump
I put y'all here.
Like they're just suggestions,
y'all work for me.
Something he could follow if he feels like it, but totally ignore if he doesn't. This really shows how he views the law in general. Throughout his business career, he operated like legal requirements were just hurdles to jump over rather than actual rules he had to follow. He would breach contracts, get sued, drag cases on for ages, settle when it suited him, and simply move on. But now that he's the president, things are different, and the stakes are much higher. Defying court orders isn't just about personal disputes anymore, it's a constitutional crisis. The backbone of our government relies on different branches respecting each other's authority. If the president starts ignoring what the courts say, that threatens to rip apart our whole system of checks and balances. That's why Chief Justice Roberts recently intervened. Legal experts are noting that we haven't seen a Chief Justice publicly call out a sitting president for courtroom behavior like this since Watergate. Back in the Nixon era, Chief Justice Warren Burger made some subtle comments regarding presidential respect for court orders when Nixon was battling subpoenas, but even he didn't go as far as Roberts did. Roberts was direct. He clearly stated that no one, not even the president, is exempt from appearing when legally summoned. Essentially, this was the Chief Justice saying to Trump, "You're not above the law, it's time you start acting like it." When Roberts made that statement on October 23rd, it sent shockwaves through the legal world. Normally, he's pretty careful to stay out of political squabbles. He likes to think of himself as an institutionalist, focused on upholding the integrity and reputation of the courts. He definitely doesn't want the Supreme Court to be seen as just another player in the political arena. So for him to make such a boldly direct statement about Trump's actions really highlights how serious things have gotten. He wouldn't have spoken out unless he thought the integrity of the entire judicial system was at risk, that Trump's defiance was a threat to the rule of law itself. And honestly, he has every reason to be concerned. If Trump can brush off court orders without any repercussions, it opens the door for future leaders to do the same, which could spell disaster for our democracy. You know, it's honestly hard to believe just how Trump reacted to Chief Justice Roberts' comments. The justice basically pointed out that if presidents start ignoring court rulings they don't like, it undermines the whole judicial system. After all, the courts operate on the expectation that everyone, including presidents, will comply with their orders, and they don't have any force behind them.
He's
It's
a
like
convicted felon.
cards. If one president decides to ignore the courts, the balance of power goes out the window.
Y'all should have known that.
Trump's reaction was furious. He labeled Roberts' reminder as an...
What do y'all expect? Y'all bend the rules for a convicted pedophile. Alert. PDF filer. 34 times. Yeah. So now you want to get... Did he appoint you, sir? Because now he feel like y'all owe him. And that means y'all going to let him do what he wants to do.
Assault on executive power, claiming the Chief Justice was just trying to show off and make himself appear important by challenging the president. So he made it clear to his legal team that they needed to hit back hard. Now, what that means exactly is anyone's guess, but it likely involves Trump's lawyers arguing that Roberts stepped out of line by commenting on ongoing cases and that it's inappropriate for the judiciary to meddle in executive matters. But let's be real, Roberts wasn't meddling. He was just reiterating that court orders are to be followed, not disregarded. In Trump's eyes, anyone who dare to question him or hold him accountable is automatically in the wrong and quite possibly corrupt. Judges that rule against him, biased. Prosecutors investigating him, on a witch hunt. Reporters who criticize him, just spreading fake news. It's this consistent pattern where he refuses to accept any responsibility for his actions, always shifting the blame onto others.
Never
so when
wrong.
Roberts says he needs to follow the law, Trump sees it as an attack rather than an opportunity to comply. And to top it all off, this whole situation unfolds during an ongoing government shutdown. Trump's already clashing with Congress over funding, dealing with intense criticism for his White House renovation project, juggling multiple lawsuits, and now he's in a public showdown with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. It's a whole lot of drama happening all at once in the realm of government. It's quite a picture we're seeing with Trump battling every part of the government simultaneously. He's clashing with Congress over budget issues, challenging courts regarding his authority, and taking on anyone who even thinks about placing restrictions on his power. And let's face it, that kind of relentless fight doesn't sit well with most Americans. People typically prefer a government that functions smoothly, where various branches collaborate and acknowledge each other's roles. However, Trump seems to flourish on being in conflict. To him, politics is all about combat. He believes that demonstrating strength means never giving in, never compromising, and never admitting when he's wrong. So, we can expect him to keep on pushing the envelope.
Baby, never admitting you wrong is major red flag.
And targeting any judge who rules against him. This ongoing battle is only going to escalate the current constitutional crisis. Legal experts are starting to raise serious questions about what happens next if Trump keeps ignoring court orders. Could the courts hold him in contempt? Are sanctions on the table? Might they even send it to Congress for impeachment? The truth is, we really don't have a clear idea because we've never had a president who outright refuses to comply with court orders. Sure, there have been presidents who disagreed with court rulings or pushed legal limits, but never one who simply decides not to show up when the court says he needs to be there whenever he pleases. That's exactly why Roberts felt compelled to step in. Trump's defiance poses a real threat to our legal system's foundation. If the president can just bypass courts without facing any consequences, then those courts lose all their significance. And once courts become irrelevant, the rule of law follows suit. Without the rule of law, we end up without a true democracy, where the strongest one just does as they please. It's that serious of a dilemma. This situation goes beyond Trump just being angry with a judge. It's fundamentally about whether our constitutional system can still function. Roberts just issued a serious warning that we're perilously close to losing it. On a side note, the case itself, Trump versus Slaughter, has been navigating through the court system since September 22nd, when it was initially submitted. Court documents show multiple orders demanding representatives from the administration to appear for hearings, like the one set for October 20th and others following that. Each time, the disregard for these orders has been glaring. It's honestly hard to believe how this all unfolded. So, by the time Chief Justice Roberts made his public statement on October 23rd, things were pretty clear. The administration wasn't just failing to show up in court, they were outright ignoring orders. This wasn't just a mix-up or scheduling issue. No, it felt like deliberate defiance on their part. They seemed to think the rules didn't apply to them, and that kind of attitude is particularly concerning. Now, Trump's lawyers are making some bold claims, saying that the president has this inherent authority to fire anyone in the executive branch, no matter what laws are meant to protect those individuals. They argue that these protections for independent agency commissioners are unconstitutional since they mess with presidential power. Sure, that's a legal argument you might see in court, but there's a catch. You actually have to show up in court to present that argument. You can't just choose to ignore legal proceedings because you feel confident about your theory. That's not how it works. If Trump's legal team truly believes those protections aren't valid, they should step into the courtroom, make their case, and let the judges decide. That's the established process. But it seems Trump wants to bypass that process altogether. He's in this mindset where he believes he can just do as he pleases and expect everyone else to go along with it. Now, we find ourselves in this rather tense situation where the Chief Justice has publicly demanded that they comply, and Trump is furious, vowing to push back. This leaves everyone wondering about the next steps. Will Trump actually send his lawyers to court, or will he keep ignoring orders and challenge the courts to hold him in contempt? Could this escalate into something that affects his impeachment? The uncertainty surrounding all of this is troubling because constitutional crises can really shake things up. They lead people to doubt whether the system is still functioning properly and whether anyone is truly held accountable to the law. That kind of uncertainty is a threat to democracy. Let's break down what this showdown could mean, because it's not just a captivating legal story. It has serious consequences for how our government operates. First up is the immediate political fallout. Trump is already facing significant backlash due to the prolonged government shutdown, and his approval ratings are taking a hit. Republican representatives are getting anxious about the upcoming 2026 midterms, which is definitely adding to the tension. Trump is now caught up in a very public spat with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and honestly, that's not the best look for him. Most folks in America have a good deal of respect for the Supreme Court as a vital part of our system, even if they don't always agree with its decisions. So, when the Chief Justice publicly calls out the president, you can bet that resonates with voters. Democrats are definitely planning to take advantage of this situation.
They better.
They'll argue that Trump believes he's above the law and does not hold the Constitution in high regard, and they'll have Chief Justice Roberts' statements backing up those claims. It's not just political spin when the Chief Justice himself says Trump ought to follow court orders. This is as credible as it gets. You can expect to see Roberts' words popping up in Democratic campaign ads, speeches, and debates. This is going to be Exhibit A in proving that Trump isn't fit for office. On the other hand, Republicans are in a tricky situation. Many of them are probably cringing behind the scenes at Trump's refusal to follow court orders. They understand this isn't great for the party and only reinforces the negative views about Trump's authoritarian inclinations. But speaking out about it publicly might spark outrage from Trump's supporters, so they'll likely try to play it down, arguing it's merely a legal disagreement. However, it's tough to spin that narrative when the Chief Justice, appointed by Republican George W. Bush, is directly calling out Trump. Now, let's touch on what this means for the Supreme Court itself. Chief Justice Roberts has been working hard to keep the court out of political battles, wanting it to be viewed as above partisan influence. But by making this bold public statement against Trump, he's waded right into a political controversy. Trump and his supporters are now poised to attack Roberts, implying bias and questioning his motives, which complicates things for Roberts and the court's image as a neutral entity. Yet, Roberts probably felt he had no other choice. If he stayed silent while the president consistently ignored court orders, the court's credibility would take an even bigger hit.
If you need full dentures but can't deal with the endless, expensive dentist visits, you need to see this. I used to hide my mouth every time I laughed.
Hi, Laura.
So, here's the deal. John Roberts, the Chief Justice, decided to stand up for the authority of the courts, even though that probably made him an easy target. It's honestly hard to believe he said that out loud, but it takes a lot of guts to take that risk. especially when the integrity of the judicial system is on the line. He wouldn't have stepped out unless he truly believed that something serious was going on. This situation shines a massive spotlight on presidential power and the independence of our regulatory agencies. At the heart of the issue is whether Trump can just fire the heads of independent agencies whenever he feels like it. If he gets his way on that, it could totally change how the federal government operates. Take agencies like the Federal Reserve, the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. They were set up to make decisions without a president's direct influence. The whole idea is their independence. If presidents start firing anyone who doesn't fall in line with their wishes, those agencies lose that independence. They'll just become instruments of presidential power, which gives way too much control to the executive branch. The founders had a clear vision with the system of separated powers, crafted to stop any one branch from becoming too dominant. Independent agencies play a crucial role in that balance, as they're intended to base their decisions on expertise and facts, not the whims of whoever is in the Oval Office. But Trump has always been uncomfortable with those limitations. He craves total control over everything. If the courts allow him to fire commissioners at will, that's a significant boost to presidential power, and it opens the door for future presidents to misuse that power. So, the implications of this case reach far beyond just Trump and Lisa Cook. It's about shaping the structure of the federal government for many years to come. On another note, this situation also raises some serious questions regarding impeachment. I get it, everyone is a bit fatigued from the whole impeachment conversation. Trump has already been impeached twice, and the Democrats have dangled the impeachment threat several times since he took office. But defying court orders is precisely what the impeachment power was meant to address. If the president chooses to ignore the law and the courts, how on earth can you hold him accountable? You can't arrest him or slap him with a fine. Impeachment is the primary constitutional solution for presidential misconduct. So if Trump keeps this up, well, we'll just have to wait and see. It looks like we're in for another round of political drama. Democrats in Congress are taking a serious look at the possibility of impeachment again due to Trump's defiance of court orders, even after the Chief Justice publicly warned him. Now, here's the twist. While they know Republicans control the Senate and there's no way Trump would actually be convicted and kicked out of office, Democrats might still go ahead with impeachment. Their goal? To put Republicans on record for supporting Trump's defiance, forcing them into a tough spot between backing the president and upholding the rule of law. This could really put moderate Republicans in competitive districts in a bind. But there's more to it. Trump's already in a tough situation with Congress over funding, and the government has been shut down for weeks. Federal employees aren't getting paid, and government services are all mixed up. Now throw in a public spat with the Chief Justice on top of that. Republicans are starting to think they need to distance themselves from Trump. He's dragging down the whole party, and that makes them less willing to back him or hold their ground on the shutdown. Instead, they're more inclined to cut deals that Trump may not favor. His political capital is slowly leaking away. Every new controversy just weakens his standing, and even his loyal supporters may eventually feel the need to save themselves instead of sinking with him. We might not be there yet, but it's getting closer, and this clash with Roberts just speeds up that process. Looking ahead to the 2026 midterms, it's clear that all of this is going to have some significant effects. We're still over a year out from those elections, but the narrative being set now is bound to influence how things go. If the story playing out is one of Trump battling every institution and coming out on the losing side, that spells trouble for Republicans. Voters usually don't reward chaos and dysfunction. They want stability and competence. Right now, Trump isn't offering either of those. So expect Democrats to champion a message focused on restoring normalcy and respect for institutions. So here's the deal. After years of chaos under Trump, there are folks who believe that if you vote for them, the government will actually start working again. They're promising no more constant constitutional crises or squabbles with the Chief Justice, just good old normal governance. That message might just hit home for a lot of voters, including some Republicans. Now, this showdown with Roberts isn't just about the immediate legal drama. It's a reflection of the bigger political landscape as we head into the midterms. And honestly, things aren't looking too great for the GOP right now. If we take a step back, we can really see some long-term damage to our democratic institutions. Each time Trump brushes aside norms, breaks laws, or attacks judges, it weakens our institutions. It starts making behavior that used to be completely unacceptable feel normal. Think about it. If Trump can ignore court orders, what's to stop the next president from doing the same? If he can just fire independent agency officials whenever he wants, what's to prevent another president from following that lead? These actions don't just disappear when Trump leaves office. They become part of our new reality, and that's pretty dangerous. Democracy relies on those norms and institutions, assuming that people in power will play by the rules, even when it's a bit inconvenient. When those norms crumble, democracy itself starts to falter. This is why Roberts stepped in. He's trying to draw a line in the sand, making it clear that no one, not even the president, is above the law. The courts still have authority, and the rule of law has to mean something. But here's the catch. Roberts can't do this alone. Congress needs to step up. Voters have to hold their politicians accountable.
Is it spinning? Am I on it? It's saying get the lights up, I guess. Okay, I guess this gonna be the last one I'm gonna look at, cause y'all still playing. I don't know why y'all play with me, boo. So I know y'all know I'll shut it down. I don't care. I'ma get the tea. Fallout from the Epstein. Let's see what they're talking about.
Every regard. So I think people are seeing similarities there. Because Spanberger today, for example, representative on your usual suspects.
What is this one? Hold on.
Of Russian Wagner mercenaries in Venezuela in 2024.
He went on to say that the judge's ruling showed how disastrous.
Major escalation tonight. The Attorney General of Arizona and Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva of Arizona are suing Mike Johnson. And they're suing him because Grijalva has not been sworn in. So what does all this have to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Because it does at its heart. Grijalva is the final vote needed for a bipartisan maneuver called a discharge petition.
A state attorney general sued the Speaker of the House over his refusal to swear in a duly elected member of Congress. And in that lawsuit, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays did not mince words at all.
So here's the scoop on what's going down with Speaker Mike Johnson. The Arizona Attorney General, along with future Congresswoman Adelita Galva, has decided to take legal action against him. This is quite the twist, especially since Galva hasn't even been sworn in yet. But it turns out this lawsuit is all tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation in a way. Galva's vote is crucial for a bipartisan move known as a discharge petition, which circumvents Johnson. Arizona's Attorney General, Chris Mays, really didn't hold back in the lawsuit. Johnson's refusal to swear in Galva has led to a significant problem. A federal judge in Arizona just landed a huge blow to Johnson's entire legal stance on this. The ruling wasn't just a setback. The judge outright dismissed his lawsuit, labeling his actions as a blatant misuse of power. That's some pretty intense language coming from a federal judge, as they usually keep things pretty neutral even when they're ruling against someone. But this judge clearly felt that what Johnson did was so over the top that it deserved to be called out. The fallout from this ruling is serious. Johnson has kept Galva from being sworn in for months, leaving around 800,000 people in Arizona without any representation in Congress. Now, the judge has stepped in to say that this is unconstitutional and it needs to end right now. Galva will be seated and Arizona residents will finally have their representative. Meanwhile, Johnson has just experienced a crushing legal defeat during his time as Speaker.
Grijalva is the final vote needed for a bipartisan maneuver called a discharge petition that goes around Johnson. Goes around Johnson because he does not want a vote to release the full Epstein files. This would go around him, get that vote to release the files. Grijalva is a partisan maneuver called a discharge petition that goes around Johnson. goes around Johnson because he does not want a vote to release the full Epstein files. This would go around him, get that vote to release the files. Grijalva was elected in Arizona 28 days ago, a whole month. And Johnson has, in that time, used every excuse not to swear her in.
Let's break down what's been going on with Speaker Johnson and his rather questionable moves regarding the situation with Adelita Gava. So here's the scoop. Johnson has been stalling on swearing her in as a member of Congress after she won her election. You'd think when someone wins a House seat, they show up on opening day and take the oath like everyone else, right? But not in this case. Johnson has been throwing out excuses, claiming there are some election irregularities that need to be sorted out first. Now here's the kicker. It's not his call to make that decision. The House actually has procedures in place for challenging elections if members have concerns about seating someone. But Johnson can't just single-handedly decide that a duly elected member can't be sworn in. By blocking Gava, he's leaving about 800,000 people in Arizona without any representation in Congress, which is pretty crucial, especially now with the ongoing government shutdown. This tricky situation caught the attention of Arizona's Attorney General Chris Mays. He took a look at what Johnson was doing and said, "This isn't right."
But what you gonna do about it by saying it isn't right?
Gava was elected, and she has every right to be seated, just like her constituents have the right to be represented. Mays felt that Johnson's actions were a violation of those rights for what looked like political reasons, so he decided to file a suit in federal court demanding that Johnson seat Gava right away. The legal process moved pretty quickly, and the judge recognized the urgency. After all, every day Gava isn't seated means another day her constituents lack representation. And let me tell you, the judge didn't hold back with the ruling. It was a major blow for Johnson. The judge declared that Johnson's actions were constitutionally indefensible. That's legal speak for saying, you've got no solid ground to stand on here. There's no legal validity to what you're doing, you're just abusing your power. So it looks like Mike Johnson's legal battle has hit a brick wall, and not just any wall. A judge effectively terminated his defense. That's it for him. Johnson can't keep this fight going in court, and now the case is over. He lost outright. To make matters even more interesting, the judge ruled that Grijalva has to be seated right away. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well,
oh wow, hold on.
October 22nd.
Okay, hold up.
For him, Johnson can't keep this fight going in court, and now the case is over. He lost outright. To make matters even more interesting, the judge ruled that Grijalva has to be seated right away. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, according to the New Republic's report from October 22nd, Johnson was really seen as trying to delay things on purpose. He was delaying Grijalva's seating to stall Democratic votes, particularly around the Epstein files and budget measures. So there wasn't any genuine concern for election integrity at play here. It was all about manipulating the House vote counts. Grijalva is a Democrat, and her being seated gives them an extra vote, which could be critical for upcoming issues like investigations into the Epstein files, government shutdown budget measures, and even potential impeachment proceedings. Johnson thought if he kept her from taking that seat, he could maintain a better vote margin for the Republicans.
Yeah, he was.
The reality, though, is that he wasn't blocking her for any valid reason. It was all about making it easier for him to push Trump's agenda through. But now that plan has completely backfired. The judge not only ruled against him, but did so in some pretty strong terms, calling his actions a flagrant abuse of authority and saying they were constitutionally indefensible. Ouch. That kind of language is going to stick with Johnson, and you can bet Democrats will be bringing it up every chance they get.
You missed some good stuff.
Every time he tries to flex his authority as speaker, they'll be right there reminding everyone that a federal judge deemed his actions
I need to open this up so the child. Hold on. I need to open it up for you because this was some good stuff. This was some breaking news stuff. So let me open it up so that y'all can rewind it. Hold on. I can at least do that for you since I'm probably finna shut it down because y'all don't got my likes where I want them. So let me let y'all be able to rewind. Rewind. You welcome. I nailed it. Yeah, because this one was a good one. I mean, both of them was good. Baby, it was hot today. I just had to calm down I had to shut them down earlier because they wouldn't get them likes up. And guess what? I'll be finished shut this one down too. Thank you for sharing. You welcome, Laura. Did y'all share? Did y'all like, share, and subscribe? Y'all may want to subscribe because of the way y'all handling. I'm finna be honest. The way y'all handling the likes and the support. Only the same certain people support. I'm about to put these on members only. Yep, because some IT be, you know, it be real good and don't nobody really be talking about it. So that's where I'm heading. I think I've been too nice and underappreciated. Now I just went ahead and unlocked it to make sure that y'all can go back and rewind it, because it was absolutely some good old tea. Vicky, thank you so much. Why come in if you don't want to hit? Why come? I agree, Vicky. Why come in? So, yep, I'm finna have to start making them a members only for the people who appreciate my effort and my research. Because one thing is for sure, you may not like me, my tone, or whatever, but I don't know when you really have been able to come back and say what I have gave was fake. Was fake. I don't I don't know. I don't know when you've been able to do that. It may not pop immediately, baby, but it do pop. And we are able to connect them dots. It's been like that for a while. So yeah, check and see if y'all are able to rewind. Let me know that it did work and that it did go through. Give me a thumbs up if somebody can check to make sure that it's working, because it is definitely some jaw-dropping tea going on right about now in the Epstein world, baby. Because they were already under investigation for money laundering. Absolutely. And another financial crime that somehow or another was overlooked or got swept up in that hell of a deal by Acosta. So, yep, they've been under investigation with evidence. I told y'all the other day when we was up in Epstein house, the shit was leaking. Did I say we was up in Epstein house? Hey, doggy dog. Can somebody check and see if y'all are able to rewind so I can keep moving forward so I can get up out of here? Can somebody check and give me a thumbs up or a 1 or something? If not, I'm going to assume that somebody don't want y'all to see what's happening. Ain't nobody going to check. So y'all going to just sit here and ignore me?
And it's likely to fuel criticism
Well,
from
I'll
both
take it
Democrats
off.
and even some moderate Republicans who are already fed up with his leadership. According to MSNBC's report from October 26th, Representative Jamie Raskin called Johnson's flop the most humiliating subjugation of a speaker in recent history. He went on to say,
so y'all gonna just ignore me? You can't rewind? You can rewind? Okay. Let me try again. Okay, yeah. Okay, so y'all can't rewind? Can you rewind now? Let me see something on my device. Hey, Mimi. What you say, Specs? You have been killing them with them shorts lately, and I was here with you for the B and E 2 days ago. Oh, you can now. Okay. Okay. Now we got about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'll be at 2 hours, and if them lights ain't up, I'm out of here. Let's go. And it's plenty. Yes.
That the judge's ruling showed how disastrously Johnson's attempts to shut things down had backfired. The story is pretty.
So Johnson getting in trouble
his authority as speaker
because he is the judge knows that he's intentionally not voting that girl in for the Epstein files. It's all coming down to the Epstein files. And now they saying that there was already investigation from Trump and Epstein and the banks for money laundering. Oh, yeah.
Could maintain a better vote margin for the Republicans.
This picture is
the reality,
sickening,
though,
just
is
like
that he wasn't blocking her for any valid reason. It was all about making it easier for him to push Trump's agenda through. But now that plan has completely backfired. The judge not only ruled against him, but did so in some pretty strong terms, calling his actions a flagrant abuse of authority and saying they were constitutionally indefensible. Ouch. That kind of language is going to stick with Johnson, and you can bet Democrats will be bringing it up every chance they get. Every time he tries to flex his authority as speaker, they'll be right there reminding everyone that a federal judge deemed his actions to be a total overreach. This is politically disastrous for him, and it's likely to fuel criticism from both Democrats and even some moderate Republicans who are already fed up with his leadership. According to MSNBC's report from October 26th, Representative Jamie Raskin called Johnson's flop the most humiliating subjugation of a speaker in recent history. He went on to say that the judge's ruling showed how disastrously Johnson's attempts to shut things down had backfired. The story is pretty clear now. Johnson tried to outsmart everyone by blocking a Democratic member, but he ended up overstepping his bounds so badly that a judge had to step in and publicly call him out. Now, he's left looking weak and incompetent, and with the stakes this high, the timing couldn't be worse for him. Right now, Mike Johnson is really feeling the heat with his narrow majority in the House and the looming government shutdown crisis. House Republicans are all over the place, with some wanting to compromise and reopen the government, while others are digging in their heels and demanding concessions from the Democrats. Johnson's been trying his best to keep the caucus united, but this recent court ruling has really knocked the wind out of his sails. If he can't win a legal battle over seating a member, it raises big questions about his ability to lead effectively. How can he negotiate with the Democrats after getting shut down in court? It's tough to project strength when your authority is in question, and right now, Johnson's looking pretty weak. This situation is definitely a mess, so let's unpack what went down and what it actually means. First off, we need to talk about the legal and constitutional issues involved, because this case hits at the core of representation and what authority the House Speaker has. The Constitution clearly states that each
like,
state
share, and subscribe.
For Congress.
Join the membership.
Power to the states to set the rules.
Gonna start going members only.
Once someone is elected, they have the constitutional right to take their seat and represent their constituents. Now, the House does have the power
and
to
I do not care how many people is in there.
Its members. According to Article 1, Section 5, each House acts as the judge of its own elections and qualifications. But that judgment doesn't rest with the Speaker alone. It belongs to the whole House. If there's a contested election, the House has set procedures to sort it out. Members can object to seating someone, a committee can look into allegations of fraud or mistakes, and the full House can vote on whether a member should be seated. But none of that took place here. Johnson just made the call on his own not to seat Gaba. He bypassed the House procedures entirely, didn't let members vote, and misused his power as Speaker to keep her from being sworn in. That's a clear misuse of authority, as the judge noted. The Speaker isn't supposed to have the final say on who gets seated. Their job is to oversee the House and represent the collective will. They definitely can't take away the rights of hundreds of thousands of constituents just because they want to. It's pretty hard to wrap your head around the fact that someone would deny an elected representative their seat just for political reasons. That really goes against the whole idea of representative democracy. When people choose someone to represent them in Congress, they deserve to have that person in office. And by blocking that representation, the Speaker is essentially stepping on the constitutional rights of those voters. Now, when a judge uses the phrase constitutionally indefensible, you know...
Hold on. Now, Vicky, are you on IG? Because you need to, if you are, you need to send me a message. Just send a message so that we can communicate on... so I can let you know ahead of time. So I can let you know ahead of time. If I go live members only. So then you'll be able to say, you know, I need a little more time or whatever. You know? So that'll be the only way that I will know when you are available. So if you're on IG, just send me a message. You don't have to join or follow. Just send me a message. I'll accept it. And then that way I will be able to notify you when I go members only. And then you can let me know if you're going to be available. Okay?
It's serious. Judges don't throw around language like that without a good reason. When they declare something as constitutionally indefensible, they're making it clear there's absolutely no reasonable legal argument for it. There's no gray area or different interpretations of the law. It's just flat out wrong. That puts Johnson's legal team in a tough spot. They must have realized they were on thin ice. Any good lawyer would have told him that trying to refuse a duly elected member without following the proper procedures was a losing battle in court. But it seems Johnson either didn't get good legal advice or thought that the temporary political gain from blocking Gray A was worth the risk. Now he's facing the consequences of that gamble. The case brought by Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays is noteworthy too, as state attorneys general have the right to sue for the interests of their state and its citizens. Mays pointed out that Arizona voters were being denied representation, and the federal judge agreed, which sets an important precedent. This ruling basically says that states can go after federal officials, including the House Speaker, when those officials violate the constitutional rights of state citizens. It's likely to encourage other state attorneys general to file similar lawsuits if they see federal officials overstepping their bounds. So Johnson's loss isn't just about this one case. It's about reinforcing that there are limits to what congressional leaders can do, and states have the power to enforce those limits in court. The way this lawsuit was fast-tracked also shows just how seriously the...
And Vicky, was it on this one or the other one? Yeah, on the live right before this one. That one was so good too. I preached maybe 2 sermons. But listen, Trump old CFO gave up the dirt on his fraud. He got 5 months in prison for giving up on Trump. So y'all know Trump ass is in trouble. And the IRS, the R and the S is waiting in the wind. Rumor on the White House lawn said he ran up out of the White House today. Got his ass up on Air Force One and went back to Florida. It's heavy. Yes, indeed. He got 5 months. Okay. And he already a convicted felon that already been to prison for fraud for Trump. Yeah. He gave up the ghost. He gave up the ghost. Yeah. For Trump knew. He inflated them numbers 3 times. Yeah. 3 times. Inflated. To make it seem, because he needed money and a loan. Yeah, that's a good one too. Y'all better go get them before I put them on members only. Yes, and at the beginning of this one is when they talked about that the leak of them, that money laundering, plus another financial crime. Oh yeah, I told Epstein he might as well come on back. He might as well come on out, baby. His cover is blown. They finna tell on his ass too. Let's go.
Court viewed the matter.
And I'm gonna tell y'all this before I forget. I won't be surprised since Trump done tried to do some wishy-washy shit with what's his name? BB Netanyahu. Yeah, if he don't start leaking stuff on him and Putin. Watch. Watch.
Litigation can drag on for months or even years, with all the usual steps like discovery and appeals. But according to CBS, this lawsuit got expedited, which really highlights how urgent this issue was seen by the court. A judge quickly stepped in on this matter, showing just how urgent things had become. The situation called for immediate action, especially since delays could lead to serious problems.
Court
The
911.
judge realized that with every extra day Mike Johnson was blocking Galava from taking his seat, Arizona voters were being denied their rightful representation. Important votes were happening without their voice in the room.
Thank you,
and
Vicky.
that just couldn't continue. So the judge made sure to act fast, preventing Johnson from dragging things out until after those key
A year
votes occurred.
membership. I
Now,
really
there's also
appreciate
some
it.
important background here about Johnson's motivations. According to the New Republic, his refusal to seat Galava was seen as a tactic to slow down Democratic votes on crucial issues like the Epstein files and certain budget measures.
Absolutely.
That strategy might make sense.
So they making they making sure they are saying Epstein files now.
King Galava from taking his seat, Arizona voters were being denied their rightful representation. Important votes were happening without their voice in the room, and that just couldn't continue. So the judge made sure to act fast, preventing Johnson from dragging things out until after those key votes occurred. Now, there's also some important background here about Johnson's motivations. According to the New Republic, his refusal to seat Galava was seen as a tactic to slow down Democratic votes on crucial issues like the Epstein files and certain budget measures. That strategy might make sense politically, but it didn't hold up legally. Johnson is caught in a tight spot, with a slim majority in the House. Every single vote counts, and losing even one could change everything. The investigation into the Epstein files is particularly explosive for the Republicans, mainly because those files could implicate Trump and other party members. So Johnson's been trying to block these.
Did and have. Did and have. And since Andrew, he done got stripped of the castle. Yeah. They don't even want his money. They don't even want him to pay nothing monthly for it. His name is Andrew now. He can't even be Prince. Yeah, forget the Duke of Lord or York or whatever he was. He can't even be Prince no more. He just plain old Andy, as he was to Virginia. Ooh. You reckon somebody in the White House, in the castle read the book? And Fergie. I know King Charles saying, Fergie, if you don't get your funky ass up out of here, he was funding you. You took my nieces over there as soon as he got out of prison the first time. You took my nieces over there. You pimped my nieces to this pervert. If y'all don't get y'all nasty ass. Andy, are you a part of this grooming gang in the UK? If you don't get your ass up out of here, leave everything. That's what old King Charles did to Andy. So Andy, you might as well start singing like a canary too. Tell on all of them. Give us the spot where where what's his name? Epstein is. We gonna hunt his ass down like we did Bin Laden. Let us know where he at. Let us know where the hideout is. Expose all they asses. Don't go down by yourself. Do exactly what the CFO did. Tell it, get your draws on credit. Maybe if you tell on them, King Charles may let you have the prince back. But you got to get the hell up out these castles. The castles don't belong to you no more. I am sick of you, brother. You making us all look bad. Yeah, you might as well tell on all of them. Every last one of them. Let's go.
These investigations and avoid votes on releasing any documents. With fewer Democrats voting, it might make things a tad easier.
You might as well tell it.
Budget talks around a potential government shutdown, he needs all the Republicans united and as few Democratic votes as possible to keep his negotiating edge. By keeping
and I didn't know she had a Netflix thing. Ain't no telling what came out on Netflix.
Talks around a potential government shutdown, he needs all the Republicans united and as few Democratic votes as possible to keep his negotiating.
Now the Republicans, they tired of y'all too.
Roster, he thought he had a small advantage. But here's the kicker. The cost of his actions is huge. Johnson's political maneuvers were so clearly aimed at partisan gain and clearly unconstitutional that he now faces a serious court ruling against him. The temporary advantage he gained from blocking one Democratic vote pales.
I told y'all that these folks was going to wind up
overstepping his authority.
Getting in jail, going to jail behind Trump, just like them other ones.
The temporary advantage he gained from blocking one Democratic vote pales in comparison to the blowback he's experiencing for overstepping his authority. Honestly, it would have been wiser for him to just seat Galava and deal with an extra Democratic vote. At least then he wouldn't be seen as trampling on constitutional rights for his own party's gain. Instead, it seemed like he thought he could pull it off without any consequences. Mike Johnson really thought he could get away with his tactics without any repercussions. Maybe he figured that nobody would take him to court, or perhaps he believed the courts would side with him because he's the speaker. He might have even thought that dragging out the litigation would keep things quiet long enough that it wouldn't matter. Turns out, he miscalculated on all fronts. There's also a growing distrust among moderate Republicans, as noted by the New Republic. Not everyone in the GOP is on board with Johnson's hardball approach. For those moderate Republicans, especially those facing tough elections, Johnson's actions are beginning to raise eyebrows. When a speaker refuses to seat a legitimately elected Democrat, and a federal judge calls it a blatant abuse of power, that's not something voters appreciate. The moderate crowd prefers their representatives to play by the rules and uphold democratic values. So, this loss in court is definitely going to tighten the screws on Johnson from within his own party. Moderates are going to be saying, your approach isn't working. It's harming our image, and you need to change your ways or we'll have to find a new speaker. Jaime Raskin might be overstating things when he describes this as the most embarrassing subjugation of a speaker in modern history, but there's a kernel of truth in it. Speakers hold significant power. They manage the House floor, determine which bills get votes, and appoint committee members. Their influence is huge, but it all hinges on respect and authority. Once a speaker looks weak or suffers public humiliation, that power starts to melt away. Johnson just found himself humiliated in front of everyone, with a federal judge labeling his actions as constitutionally indefensible. That's going to make his leadership a lot trickier. As for the members who are already uncertain about him, they're likely to get louder in their criticisms. Those with their eyes on the speaker's position will start making moves, and Democrats will feel more empowered to challenge Johnson at every opportunity, knowing he's in a vulnerable spot. Now, let's dive into what this court defeat truly means for Mike Johnson's role as Speaker and the shifting political landscape in the House from here on out. It's honestly hard to believe that Johnson found himself in such a tough spot after that court ruling. Let's break down this situation. First off, his authority as the House Speaker took a serious hit. You see, to be effective in that role, you need to command respect and show strength, not just to your party, but also to your opponents. After being publicly humiliated by a federal judge who deemed his actions constitutionally indefensible, Johnson seems to have lost a lot of that strength. In politics, when people start thinking you're weak, it becomes a slippery slope.
And Trump got hit with some blows too. They both got laid down.
And your directives start falling on deaf ears. That creates a real situation of weakness, even if he started off strong. Now, looking ahead, Johnson is in for a rough ride. The Democrats are likely to be more emboldened than ever. They will challenge every decision he tries to make, and if he attempts any questionable legal moves, expect them to file lawsuits left and right. They'll be eager to quote that judge's ruling, constantly reminding everyone of how he was found lacking. Each time Johnson tries to assert his authority, that ruling is going to haunt him. It's a talking point.
What authority, little man?
As speaker.
Little man. His name Little Man now.
Kennedy curse.
His name Little Man.
But there's more to the story. His biggest challenges might actually come from within his own party. Right now, House Republicans are in a bit of a bind, divided and frustrated. With the government shutdown stretching out with no end in sight and Trump's legal troubles creating constant headaches, Johnson's embarrassing defeat isn't helping his case at all. Moderate Republicans might start pulling away from him, fearing that being associated with him could hurt their chances with voters.
Absolutely.
And then there are those hardline Republicans who might start questioning whether Johnson has the chops to carry out
This need to be a straight Democrat ticket. All the mess that they ass has been doing, everything that done been uncovered. Can't get no worse than what it is.
For investigating Epstein. With Johnson's track record, the whispers about replacing him as Speaker are only going to grow louder. There have been quiet discussions among some Republicans about finding someone else to step in, but after this recent setback, that chatter is about to take center stage. It's going to be interesting to see how all this unfolds. So it looks like Johnson's in a bit of hot water. There are folks in his own party gearing up to criticize how he's handled things, and they're already brainstorming different strategies.
Look like Harry Potter, he should do.
The thing is, actually getting rid of a sitting speaker isn't a walk in the park. It takes a lot of votes from within the caucus. And with Republicans holding such a tight majority, losing even a few votes can seriously derail any chance of electing someone new. But Johnson's position is definitely shaky. If enough Republicans start to see him as a liability, he could be looking at a forced exit. This recent court ruling certainly makes that a more realistic possibility.
Never wanted him there anyway.
Forced
exit.
Now, this ruling really hits at the heart of his game plan. Johnson attempted to play the system by keeping Gralva from taking his seat, which was a pretty cynical move aimed at skewing the vote in favor of the Republicans. But boy, did that backfire. Not only did he lose in court, it was a public defeat that really tarnished the whole strategy. Other Republican leaders who might have considered going down a similar path are going to think twice now. After witnessing the fallout from pushing the legal and constitutional envelope, they might reconsider the risks involved. This ruling sends out a strong message that there are definite limits to the power leaders can wield, and the courts are more than willing to step in to maintain order. This is crucial for upholding democratic principles and the rule of law, especially considering how, in recent years, many political leaders have tested the waters to see just how far they can stretch their powers. While Trump has often led the charge in this regard, others have certainly followed suit. The attitude seems to be about pushing boundaries, seeing what can be done, and worrying about any repercussions later on. But when those repercussions arrive swiftly and harshly, like in Johnson's case, the whole game changes. Suddenly, the danger of abusing power starts to outweigh any potential advantages, leading political figures to think more carefully about staying within legal limits. This ruling really shakes things up, especially for Mike Johnson and Gava, but its impact goes even further, affecting how our political leaders will act in the future. It's honestly hard to believe the legal landscape could shift so dramatically. Johnson's reaction to the ruling will be crucial. If he decides to accept it and lets Gava take the seat without fuss, that would send a strong message that the legal system is still respected, and political figures can adhere to court decisions even when it feels uncomfortable. On the flip side, if Johnson pushes back against the ruling or tries to wiggle out of it, especially with Trump nudging him to defy the court, it could spiral into a serious constitutional mess. Just imagine if the House refuses to acknowledge Gava, claiming the court has no say in how they operate. That would lead to a pretty intense standoff between the judicial and legislative branches, putting the effectiveness of court orders into question if leaders choose to ignore them. While this scenario might seem unlikely, it's still a possibility, highlighting just how delicate our institutional norms have become. And here's another layer to consider. This loss significantly undermines the Republican Party's leverage in the ongoing government shutdown talks and their overall brawls with the Democrats. The perception of strength plays a huge role in negotiations. When your opponents believe you're unified and strong, they're more likely to bend a little. But with Johnson's recent blunder, trying a tactical move that clearly backfired, Democrats are going to see him as weak. This signals they've got the upper hand, which in turn pushes them to be tougher in negotiations.
That was the final warning.
This constitutional mess.
Last
Just
call
imagine if
for
the House refuses to
the
acknowledge
lights to
Java,
go up.
claiming the court has no say in how they operate. That would lead to a pretty intense standoff between the judicial and legislative branches, putting the effectiveness of court orders into question if leaders choose to ignore them. While this scenario might seem unlikely, it's still a possibility, highlighting just how delicate our institutional norms have become. And here's another layer to consider. This loss significantly undermines the Republican Party's leverage in the ongoing government shutdown talks and their overall brawls with the Democrats. The perception of strength plays a huge role in negotiation. Trying a tactical move that clearly backfired, Democrats are going to see him as weak. This signals they've got the upper hand, which in turn pushes them to be tougher in negotiations. They're going to be less inclined to compromise on the budget and more eager to advance their own priorities, like digging into the Epstein files and probing Trump's mishaps. Plus, with GABA stepping in, Democrats will gain another vote in the House. In a narrowly divided chamber, every single seat counts, and currently, Republicans are walking a tightrope with their slim majority. Losing just a few more seats could tip the balance even more. So, here's the latest on Mike Johnson, and honestly, it's quite the situation. He just faced a huge setback in court, and it's really shaking things up for him. A federal judge didn't hold back, calling his refusal to pursue Gujava a blatant misuse of power and a complete violation of the Constitution. Because of this ruling, Gujava has to be seated right away, which makes Johnson look pretty weak and incompetent. His leadership is definitely on shaky ground right now. Now let's break it down a bit.
So now, it's going to be, is he going to accept? Is he going to still continue to choose Trump over himself, or is he going to be found? What word? In contempt. Yeah. For not swearing her in. So are you going to compromise your livelihood and your position? Because now we know that you can be forced out. Oh my God, that's going to be a walk of shame. Ha! So are you going to disobey the court's order? And we already got one judge that done pulled Trump's coattail and put it in writing so that there could be no misunderstanding. Yeah. Now, I hope y'all know. Now, they baiting y'all. They baiting and they linking. Leaking. Yeah. And your little ass, you too little. I'm telling you, they done already put Diddy on a laundry duty. And baby, listen. He just got to his new spot. You see the other little old white man up in there with the ball. He done lost all the middle of his hair. Yeah. This his second stint for Trump at Rikers Island. Can you handle Rikers, man? Because I heard Rikers ain't Wall Street. It ain't the White House either. Yeah. You on your way just like them other folk on the last administration. Yeah. You gonna let him talk you out your drawers. Because that's what Big Bubba gonna do to you, little man. You already low to the ground. You right there. You real close. Yeah.
Because of this ruling,
yeah,
Gujaba
that's
has
where
to
we
be
going.
seated right
So
away.
he on his way. So either he gonna man up and do his job for the people, or he is going to continue to try to be loyal to Trump. Now the guy who told on Trump, Allen, yeah, they say he was loyal. He was the most loyal for Trump. Held all the secrets. Yeah. He got 5 months and he sung like a canary. You better stop playing, cause Trump ain't gonna have your back just like he didn't have old Allen boy back. Now play dumb if you want to. Yeah. I got all eyes on you, little man. Let's go.
Complete violation of the Constitution. Because of this ruling, Gujaba has to be seated right away, which makes Johnson look pretty weak and incompetent. His leadership is definitely on shaky ground right now. Now let's break it down a bit. Democrats seem to have gained a more reliable vote, which helps them block Republican efforts more easily. This slight shift in the voting margins clearly tips the balance in their favor. But it's not just about the numbers. There's a bigger picture here. The whole episode shows that Republican strategies are falling flat. The shutdown they hoped would bring them results hasn't worked at all, and Johnson's attempt to block Gujaba just blew up in his face. With Trump's legal troubles piling up, it's clear that none of their tactics are hitting the mark. When a strategy is failing like this, it tends to put pressure on people to switch things up. We might start to see some Republicans openly break their tactics are hitting the mark. When a strategy is failing like this, it tends to put pressure on people to switch things up. We might start to see some Republicans openly breaking. When a strategy is failing like this, it tends to put pressure on people to switch things up. We might start to see some Republicans openly breaking ranks. Some could decide to vote for reopening the government. Others might choose to distance themselves from Trump. And there's even a chance that Johnson's leadership could be challenged. The unity that Republicans need to push their agenda is really starting to crumble, and this latest court decision only speeds up that process. This defeat is one of the biggest blows Johnson has faced since he took on the role of Speaker, and if he can't bounce back quickly and regain some confidence in his leadership, we could very well be witnessing the beginning of the end for his time as Speaker.
Don't compromise quality insurance for savings or your time for this ad. Hit that skip button. Or
okay, Speaker crumbles. I saw that one. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what's coming up next? I'm a judge drop huge ruling. Oh, Brian, I ain't seen you. Okay, y'all. So what's going? I got scheduled. Let me see. I think my last one today, and I got to get back on my Candace, but I think the last one tonight is the one that was supposed to be before all this popped off about looking at the picture. What? President, former, looking at the picture, what? Explains the machine. The machine of what's going on. Hey, and that is scheduled. Let me double check. Again, y'all, I'm telling y'all now, I'm going to be going to members only. Yep, I'm not getting the support that I am supposed to be getting with the tea that I bring. And it's not fair to my loyal supporters. I'm just not going to continue to do it. So that's coming up. That's what I went in there for, to check to make sure that it's scheduled and what time it's scheduled for. I got to get it in there and then I'll be back. Oh yeah, we got to talk at 10. Cause is old boy trying to come up under Charlie? Did they give it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait. I can't. Okay, so let me see. I'm gonna do this. I want to hear Brian right quick about where is the money laundering, y'all. Money laundering. Can y'all believe that? Freaking judge drop a ruling. Money laundering. So on this one, I'm gonna give. What time is it? 9:23. Lord have mercy. Is it getting stuck? Money laundering. Did it get stuck? It said Is the did it say no to give me all that tea? Going back. It said AunTeaFee. They not treating you right. Unresponsive. Wait. Okay, let me see what it's gonna do. I've been doing too much, y'all. Even the system is saying you've been doing too much. You try to give them too much.
There's a breakthrough in the Jeffrey Epstein case.
I'm not gonna play it all.
Had a money laundering case against him.
This is what's at the beginning.
I'm MSNBC anchor, chief legal correspondent, and I'm going to talk about that in this breakdown, as well as Donald Trump's efforts to control the military, affect our democracy, and also try to stave off the belief.
So I'm gonna leave it.
There's a breakthrough in the Jeffrey Epstein case
for about 5 minutes.
Had a money laundering case against him that they didn't bring. I'm Ari Melber, MSNBC anchor, chief legal.
Do y'all hear that for the ones who late to the party?
As well as Donald Trump's efforts to control the military, affect our democracy, and also try to stave off the belief or awareness that he is a lame duck president. Something I've discussed in breakdown, including the efforts to suggest to people that somehow he could illegally rule beyond 2028. But starting with
and they got bank receipts.
New from the New York Times and Bloomberg, which uses Freedom of Information Act reporting to get documents about the Epstein case. This is really significant to learn that there was actually an entire money laundering case prepared against Epstein that was basically blocked back the first time he was under investigation. It's really interesting as a lawyer to look at these type of scenarios, because typically when someone is under federal or any type of investigation, you don't hear about it in real time. You're not supposed to. You might hear about a search warrant or subpoena, but that's it. And that kind of secrecy is generally a good thing. It's to protect a lot of the parties involved. But we're learning now that in 2007, a federal prosecutor drafted, and I'm reading from documents collected by Bloomberg, a 53-page indictment and an 82-page prosecution memo. That is pretty detailed, all about the effort to get Epstein on money laundering charges, basically of all the different crimes that, of course, he was ultimately suspected of, and later a lot of evidence was shown.
Money laundering. I don't know, my system is shut. I don't know.
This was a follow the money effort to go that way. And the report notes that, and this has been reviewed by DOJ as well, but reading from Bloomberg now, that this prosecutor wanted them to act quickly, the feds, because she was concerned that he would continually to, quote, sexually abuse girls until they stopped him. But instead, senior officials, this was at the George W. Bush Justice Department, said she was actually being too aggressive in going after Epstein. They slow-walked that effort. Of course, the money laundering case was never brought, and he got that early sweetheart deal in Florida.
So that and a couple of more was at the beginning for the ones who late get coming in. So I'm gonna go ahead and end. I got another live set up right after this. When this goes off, if y'all stay around and see, y'all see where. Dang, I didn't even make a double check to make sure I have it taken off. I don't know what's going on, but it's set for. Oh, finally, 10 o'clock. So in about 30, 35 minutes, we're going to listen to our former president explain. You know, we often hear something called the machine. He's going to go in and explain to us the machine that Trump has planned, has in store for us. And his machine is the elimination machine. Okay, 10 o'clock. Hopefully I'll be finished by midnight. If my likes is right. I'm finna change it up. Vicky, should I do that with members only? Vicky, you ready for members only? Vicky, you still here? Yeah, I'm finna have to start doing the members only. Do I have it? Oh, yeah, it's there. 10:35 at 10 o'clock. Says President Trump MAGA betrayed us. Former President Obama explains the danger we are in. The Antichrist machine. Vicky must have left. Y'all better be glad Vicky left. All right, bye.